recording our phone call. Thank you, Joanne Mitchell, for being on the line. But I appreciate you calling me earlier today, and you wanted to share something with me. So why don't you go ahead and share that with me now? I love hearing your praise reports. I love connecting with you and just seeing your journey just unfolding. You have been doing such amazing progress and applying everything that you've been learning. So I'm excited about the next praise report. So tell me all about it.
Okay. So like I said, I'm joining Toastmasters, so I have to write an introduction speech. So I'm going to read it for you.
Mm-hmm.
In the fall of 1993, I had an emotional breakdown. I was 28 years old. I didn't like my life at the time. I was confused, angry. I felt unworthy. I thought I was cursed. I felt stuck. My life had no meaning. I was just going through the motions of life. I couldn't shake it. So one day I decided I was going to get drunk because that's what the people in my family did when they couldn't handle the pressures of the world. I went to the store, bought me 2 big bottles of Long Island iced tea. I chose that drink because my best friend told me that drink tasted good. So I got home, and I poured me a glass of Long Island iced tea. It was disgusting, but I drank it anyway. I wanted to experience what other people in my family experienced when they got drunk, like my parents, both alcoholics. Like both of my grandmothers, they were both alcoholics. Like my Aunt Marianne, who raised me, she was an alcoholic. The people who raised me were all alcoholics. So I created the atmosphere. I turned on some sad, depressed, and loud music, and I drank and cried. I thought about all the hell I had been through and was going through. I asked God why both of my parents were on drugs. Why were they alcoholics? Why didn't my daddy like me? Why did my dad beat my mom bloody and knock her front teeth out in front of me? Why was my mother mentally ill? Why did I have to live with my mean Aunt Marianne? She was a very wicked woman. She took me and my sisters in to receive a paycheck. She didn't love us. She would call me bitches and hoes and tell me I'm going to be just like my mother. Why did she make me go to the store with her ex-boyfriend? She put me in harm's way. That man was a pervert. He began to fill on my flat chest like I had some fucking titties. I was only 15 years old. I was angry as hell. Why did my loving grandmother have to die? Why was my mother so mean to me? I remember around 10, my mother telling me, bitch, I will pimp you, but you're not even pimpable. Why did my dad's mother, my grandmother, did not feed me and my sisters one day because her and my dad got into an argument? It was a heated argument. She bought her children some food, and they sat in front of us and ate their food. Why did my dad's mother, my grandmother, get drunk and shoot her gun in the house? Why did my grandmother, my dad's mother, would get drunk and invite all of her male friends over to her house? Why did I have to live in a house filled with rats and roaches, a very filthy house? Why was my aunt's husband flirting with me at 12 years old, telling me, girl, you fine just like your mama? Why did my uncle commit suicide at the age of 20? What did he do why didn't he stay on the planet? What was so bad where he had to commit suicide? Why did I have to go to the foster home? I remember falling to my knees, crying with my hands stretched out, asking God, please send me some beautiful black women to help me navigate this thing called life. My prayers were answered the following week. One early morning, I was listening to KJLA's radio station. The person in charge of the radio show introduced Jewel Diamond Taylor, also known as the self-esteem motivational speaker and author of the book, You Are Too Blessed to Be Stressed. Jewel spoke. I can't remember the topic that day, but I do remember her saying that she was going to be speaking at Inglewood Community Center Thursday night. I registered for the class, and I got there early. I was a little nervous because I didn't know what to expect. When I entered the room, I heard the Sounds of Blackness playing, Be Optimistic. I was greeted by Sister Joy. She gave me a big hug. I felt a little awkward because I wasn't used to being hugged. I didn't want Joy to think I was gay. but I didn't want Joy to let go. With that hug, I knew I was in the right place. Then I met Joy Diamond Taylor. I was nervous. I was shaking like a hooker in church. But I felt Jewel's warm energy. I was no longer nervous. From that Thursday night until now, Jewel has played a major part in my life. Jewel coached me through the darkest times of my life. I had explained to Jewel that I grew up in a very dysfunctional family, that I was angry, I was confused, I was trying to process the information on both sides of my family. My first session with Jewel, my life coach, she asked me, was I a victim or a victor? And I answered, a victim. Jewel looked at me and said, honey, you are alive, so that makes you a victor. Yes. She said the first thing you have to do is get rid of that victim language and change the family narrative of how I was telling my story. She told me that I had been through what was a test, and now I have a testimony. I could go on about my coach, but she was always there to listen to what I was experiencing and feeling, brought forth thought-provoking questions to aid me in finding solutions. Jewel was and is patient, kind, and caring. She was fair, and she judged me. She never judged me or found fault in my thoughts. She challenged me to look deep inside myself and discover the reasons for why I was feeling or acting the way I was acting. I would not have found this strength to get through without her guiding coaching and assistance. Because of Jewel's coaching, my life has meaning. She helped me to find my life purpose. My purpose on the planet is to create a safe, clean, fun, loving environment where children can be children. My mission is to create opportunities for children, parents, communities to heal and discover their full potential. That's good, Jewel.
It's so amazing. And I must be transparent. The reason I asked you, could I record this, is because for the listeners, I heard it earlier today, and it blew me away. And when I got off the phone, I was just in tears and just thanking God for being a vessel. So I'm hearing it for the second time, and it still takes my breath away to know that you did process what happened to you. You did turn your pain into a purpose, and you did not allow your mother telling you that you were not pimpable. I never even heard of that before. I mean, I'm so glad that didn't stick, Joanne, because for a mother to say that to her daughter and strip her of her self-worth and her identity and her value, I'm so glad that in your spirit, the space of the Holy Spirit that was in you guarded you and protected you and contained your beautiful essence until you could be in the presence of other people that would help you unpack this toxic, dysfunctional lifestyle. And I'm so glad that, over the years, you don't look back at your mother or family as evil. You realize now that they were damaged. You realize now that it was a family that was not functioning at its best, and that you were able to escape that, and you were able to be transformed, and that your dad, your mom, your uncle, your mean aunt, your grandmother, your uncle, the perverts, all of those are a story now. They're not your identity. But for you to ask why, I mean, that's a good question. That's a good place to start. But then we can get stuck there and just ask why and never move forward and say, now what can I do with this? You see what I'm saying? You didn't get stuck there with the why. How was it received when you shared that at the Toastmasters?
Oh, I haven't received it yet. I haven't.
Oh, you haven't read it yet?
No, because of the coronavirus, everything is shut down.
Oh, I see.
They do have Toastmasters online, but I wanted to share it with you first, so you can critique me. See, did you feel it?
I mean, Joanne, this is a short recording, and no one will really fully know the entirety of your story, and you've shared bits and pieces over time, and every time I hear the different pages from your story, I look at you as a miracle. I look at you as God touched you in a special way and protected you so that you could be part of the healing for our young children. I know you are so on fire to create, as you said, a safe and clean and loving and nurturing educational for children, and I know you're going to do it. I know it's going to happen, and I'm glad that you use that pain to fuel you to say, because I know about the rats and the roaches, because I know that I was in harm's way, because I know that I didn't have a loving a childhood, because I know that I wanted to commit suicide, and then my uncle did it, because I know of a dark place. You're going to be able to relate to so many children that are coming from broken situations, and you are a living example that you made a choice. I mean, you asked the universe, you asked God, you said, God, please. And then I heard you say the next week you found yourself in the place. At that time, we weren't Women on the Grow. We were called the Enlightened Circle. But it's amazing when, and when we just plead out to God, like, God, I mean, that is so powerful that the next week that information came to you through the radio on KJLH. And I've been on that station many, many times with Dominique DePrima. And every time I'm on there, I'm thinking, I'm just talking to a microphone. I don't know who's listening, because I'm used to standing in front of an audience and getting the feedback and, connecting with an audience. So to talk on the radio hasn't always been my favorite thing to do, because I just feel like I'm just talking to air. And so to know that at that particular point in time, it was a turning point for you, it just encourages me to stop second-guessing myself and to know that to continue sharing the pearls of wisdom. And, you're like a shining student after 35 years of teaching. Your life, your journey, your turnaround, your breakthroughs, even though you still continue to go through some challenges. You're a wife, you're a business owner, you're a mother, you still have challenges with other family members, you lost your parents, you're still working through, as you said, navigating. You're still navigating a rocky road sometimes. And I'm so glad that you continue to be plugged in to myself and Women on the Grow, because you are the shining example of what I want women to understand, that when you are in the proximity of teaching and nurturing and non-judgment, when you are in that circle of love, it does transform people. And I am just so grateful that you chose to share that story with me. And I look forward to us collaborating as you move forward with seminars and conferences, because like you said, you're on fire about teaching the parents, because there are conferences for teachers, but what about the parents? Can you speak on that, honey, why you're so passionate about that?
Because I look at my parents, it was something that was programmed into them. Everything was programmed to each generation. So you have to be able to sit down and assess, but that's what you taught me, sit down and assess where you come from. And so as I sat down and assessed my broken pieces, I was able to see the generational curse.
Right.
And I won't just say curse, I'll say generational programming. And so
I use another word, generational pattern.
Yeah, okay, generational pattern.
It's a pattern that is picked up. It's like if one generation, ate gumbo, like I don't even eat gumbo because it was never at our kitchen table. Yeah. So I don't eat gumbo. That's a pattern that was not passed down, but there were other patterns that passed down. And so, like you said, when you recognize the pattern in your family, you were able to say, wait a minute, I want to be the one to turn that pattern around and create a new pattern.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think when we call it a curse, it's almost like we don't have any choice to break it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, no, I don't say it's a curse. Because a curse is like, okay, that's just evilness just having a grip on you and locking you down. But when you say, I am not a victim, and this is a pattern, and I see it, I recognize it, and I'm going to turn it around, that's what empowerment is.
Yes. And so that's what I learned through your teachings. And it wasn't easy. I remember you telling me to think it and ink it. And I was like, what does that mean? So that was a new level of awareness for me, but I didn't take heed to it. But in 2015, I did my first dream board. 2016, I was able to purchase a home. Because I didn't use the information. So some of the information I didn't use right away, but I'm using it now. And it's like, oh, my God, this is magical.
And I'm glad you said that, because I think sometimes people beat themselves up and they'll say, I know you taught me that. I know you said it. I know you gave me a handout. I know you gave me the books. But it is a gradual turnaround, because your dysfunction, the toxicity, the things that you have been exposed to is deeply rooted.
Yes.
It's deeply rooted. And so you just can't cut a tree down with just one swing of an axe. You know what I mean? It takes several attempts to cut that tree down. And even when you cut the tree down, I guess what's still there? The roots.
Yeah.
You know, it's still there. And so you make a decision that I don't want this life, and you don't want it for your children. And I love how you are very transparent and very present with your children, because you want them to have a different experience than you had.
Yeah.
And it's amazing you could do that when you didn't have a pattern to look at. Like, well, how do I do this thing?
Right. Well, the pattern is you.
Oh,
when I met you just start giving me
oh my God. Oh my God.
Well, like, okay, I'm gonna try this.
And
every time I try something, it works, and I was like, okay. But I had to get rid of that toxic thinking. That was the challenging part.
And the only way you get rid of it is to be aware of it. Like, you started becoming aware of what you were thinking. Like, wait a minute, I don't want to think like that. Like, I know there's a sister in our tribe that talks about how she came from a toxic, dysfunctional family, and they were very dependent on getting help from the government and, you know, food stamps and this and that. And she said when she finally recognized, I want to break that pattern, I want to get a job, I want to be self-sufficient, her family thought she was crazy. Like, how are you going to break away from this lifestyle? We're used to learning how to work the system to get all the support that we need. You don't need to get a job. But she said she made a conscious decision. I don't want to live like that.
Yeah, that was
you see?
Yeah, that was me too. And that's what happened. You asked me one day, another question you asked, you have a joy or a job? And at the time, I just had a job. So then you was like, well, go back to school. And I was like, well, let me just go back to school. So what I did, I just started taking one class a semester, because I was working full-time and I had children. But when I got laid off, all that added up. I was able to go teach. So I want people to know it's a process.
Right. It's a zigzag. It's not a straight line. You zig and you zag. You zig and you zag. And now that we're in this, right in the middle of this hotbed of this corona crisis, people like you and many people that I know that have zigzagged all their life, never had a straight line, you're the type of people that will be able to be resilient and survive, because you're used to being creative, you're used to being innovative, you're used to making things happen, you're used to things not always being stable. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Makes a lot of sense.
And so that is what's going to help you to survive. And these are the type of things that I know you want to teach parents, is how they can break their dysfunctional cycles and practice better parenting with their children. And they don't have to pass along the pain and the anger and the addiction. They don't have to pass it along. But what happens is that when people just feel like, well, that's just the way it's always going to be, they're already defeated.
Right. And so with your help, I was able to talk to my children and ask for forgiveness, because I had told them I was born into this and we have to figure out how to get out of it. So my children are so loving. They'll tell me stories, and it'll break my heart because they were saying I was mean. I don't want to be mean to my children, but they are so loving and forgiving.
Yes, they are.
Sit down and really look at our generation from generation to generation. So we are in a healing mode, and we want to share with other people.
And tell me as we close, what is it that, tell me about like 3 hot points of pain or 3 hot topics that you just really want to teach parents, because I know that's your dream, is to start having some conferences and training to teach parents. What are the top 3 things that come to your mind that they need to really embrace?
Really to understand that they are their child's first teacher.
Come on.
And it's not the teacher's responsibility to discipline your child. We are there to teach. But now, as a teacher, they want us to teach and discipline. So we have so many behavioral challenges at school with the children because nobody's teaching the child. So I want to really talk to the parents about you are their first mentor, you are their first teacher, and things that they can do. But the parents have to acknowledge how they've been programmed. So once they understand that, they can start looking at it. Oh, I can do better in this area, that area, and it's a process.
Yes. What else?
And then for the teachers, the same thing with teachers. We have broken teachers that they know what they're going through, but they're stuck, so they don't know how to get unstuck. And so that's where you come in. You can help them unprogram that life that they were living, that dysfunctional life, because that's what you helped me do. You helped me reprogram. You were telling me about affirmations. I didn't know what an affirmation was. I didn't know what setting goals were until I met you. And so it was a new level of awareness for me. People have been doing this for years, but I wasn't plugged in. So when I plugged into Jewel Diamond Taylor, I was able to unplug all that dysfunctional. Like I said, it was a process. It didn't happen overnight, but I was able to start, just getting rid of some of that.
And also what you have found, and I know we've talked about it before, that's very disheartening, that unfortunately a lot of teachers are just there for the paycheck. They don't really have a passion for teaching like you do.
Yeah.
They're underpaid, or they just like by default they became a teacher or a teacher's aide, and they're bringing even more harm because they're not bringing any passion or patience or love or creativity to the classroom. They don't have the tools to understand the different psyche of the children and to recognize their behaviors that are unhealthy and coming from a home that's broken, or parents in prison, or they haven't been fed, or they have anger issues, or they're urinating on themselves, or they're picking fights, or they cling to you and they want you to be their mama. I bet you've experienced all of that.
Oh, yes, I experienced all of that. And so then that's why I really want to do the teacher workshops as well, because we have teachers that are not plugged in into their own self. They don't know who they are. I didn't know who I was until I met the coach, Jewel Diamond Taylor. And so once you start pouring into me, I'm able to connect to children. I have a little boy right now he's in my care, and he told me yesterday he went to the foster home. And I said, you know what? I was in a foster home too. So now we connecting, so he's talking to me more because he understands that I understand him.
Yes.
So that connection. So we have to have the connections with the teachers. I have so many teachers or people that's over the schools. They're not equipped to even teach children. They have not had the child development classes, or they have not had the experiences that I have with no food. So that breaks my heart when you're out of school and they're not feeding the children, because I know what it's like to be hungry. And so we need leadership. Teachers need leadership, but whoever owns that school need leadership. Whoever in charge need leadership. We need to be plugged in so we can help the children.
And you know what? It begins by, and this is what I love to do, and this is why we're recording this today, is because as you've experienced when you've been to my Malibu retreats, you've been to my conferences, you've been to just about everything I've ever produced over these past years, and you know that part of the healing is telling our stories. Yeah. And when you create a safe place for women to tell their stories, going through divorce, going through breast cancer, going through addiction, going through unemployment, going through depression, and there's a healing that takes place. And so what happens, what I want to do with you is to create a place where the teachers can tell their stories and tap into that, because they are more than just a teacher. They get their identity is in their paycheck and being a teacher, or even their degree, but they're not really unpacking their own story to understand that, a child's energy can pick up on the fact whether you are resentful, you're tired, you don't want to be there, you got issues going on in your personal life and you're bringing it to the job, and you see children that are, the teacher is angry with them, mean with them, doesn't tap into their creativity, and it's just, it's such a terrible cycle of stripping children of their self-worth and all the things that they need. What are the S's they need? They need stability. They need security. What are the other S's? I can't remember. They need stability, security.
Emotional support.
Emotional support. And when they're not getting that, you're producing children that are going to be end up in prison, end up in addiction, end up homeless, end up going in bad relationships. It's just a cycle. It's a big, big job, Joanne, and we know we can't do it all, but I'm glad that you've made a commitment to do it where you are, and I got you. I'm on your team as things unfold, and we're just going to get through this particular crisis that we're going through, find the silver lining. I think teachers are going to be more appreciated because children are at home and parents are not equipped to know how to keep them on a schedule, help them with their homework, that cabin fever, parents are short-tempered or they don't have any money or their income has been gone, or they just weren't keeping up with their child's progress in the classroom, and now they see, oh, my God, the teacher is doing the discipline and the counseling and the nutrition and everything. So everything. So I am just truly honored that you gave me my roses while I could smell them, and to let me know that I have not been laboring in vain, and that to actually see you manifesting your greatness, and to actually see you healing and being transformed, to see you become a homeowner after how many years were you in an apartment?
Oh, my God. About 20 years.
Yeah, and then you found that you and James became a homeowner. He's got his trucking business. You're going to have your child care center. You're going to be doing a lot of great things. You're writing a book. You're doing so many great things. And during this slow time, just continue to tweak those things. But as I've always told you, get focused, because you can't do it all. It doesn't mean you can't do it ever, but you want to get really laser beam focused on what you want to do first as this cloud lifts and get some traction and get some, accelerate and go even deeper and further with your purpose and your dream and your passion, because you are so needed. And I'm just so grateful that your pain is no longer your story. It's your purpose is now your story. And you're just a light in a dark place. And I thank you so much for your time today on this recorded call, and I pray that many, many people listen to it. And I hope that people that are listening will feel motivated to contact you or contact me. I'm not going to put your contact information in the call, but if they reach out to me, and my information is public, JewelDiamondTaylor.com or 323-964-1736, or email jewelmotivates@gmail.com. If you want to reach Joanne, you can get her through me, and we will monitor that. But she is amazing. She's based in the Los Angeles County here in California, and she is a spitfire. She is unstoppable. She is on fire for the children, for the parents, for the teachers, and I can't wait to see how God is going to open up doors and give you resources that you need. God bless you and your family. I love you so much.
Thank you, Jill, and I love you so much. Thank you so much for everything.
Okay, dear. We'll talk soon. Stay in the light.
Okay. Bye-bye.